September arrived on the Eastern Front with cold rains and muddy roads that slowed even the most relentless German advance. General Heinz Guderian's armored columns were driving south with breathtaking speed, attempting to encircle Kiev. Behind him, Field Marshal Fedor von Bock scrambled to hold the Yelna line, facing relentless Soviet counterattacks. The Red Army's Stavka command, desperate but unyielding, threw tens of thousands of fresh troops into the inferno, determined to halt the Wehrmacht's momentum. In the north, the situation was no less dire. Army Group North had effectively severed Leningrad's rail lifelines, isolating the great city on the Neva. For millions of civilians, the nightmare of starvation loomed. The first week of September 1941 would set the tone for the coming months, a struggle that would decide the survival of entire nations. Army Group North, led by Field Marshal Wilhelm von Lieb, regrouped after hard summer fighting. Soviet counterattacks, particularly Vatutin's, had briefly checked their momentum, but Manstein's armored divisions had clawed back ground, and the German 18th Army cleared Estonia. Stavka rushed reinforcements, the 54th, 52nd, and 4th Armies, to bolster defenses on the Volkhov River, just in time to prevent a link-up between the Germans and the advancing Finns. In late August, the Germans seized Magat, the last key rail hub to Leningrad, cutting off the city's final overland supply line. Though NKVD units briefly retook it, German armor soon drove them out for good. By early September, Sinivino and Schisselberg fell into German hands, sealing Leningrad's isolation. Only the thin lifeline across Lake Ladoga, soon dubbed the Road of Life, remained. The German pace had slowed dramatically, from a blistering 5 kilometers a day in July to barely a kilometer by September. Exhaustion, stretched supply lines, and bitter Soviet resistance dragged the siege into a grinding stalemate. Yet many German commanders felt the job was done. Leningrad was trapped, and starvation would finish what their armies had begun. Hitler shifted focus. Army Group Center would be reinforced for a decisive strike on Moscow. The Finns advanced near the Karelian Isthmus, but were ordered not to storm the city, a fact Soviet intelligence did not know. Lieutenant General Markian Popov, commanding Leningrad's defenses, faced impossible odds, defending against both German siege lines and Finnish pressure. Stalin reorganized the sector into 2 commands, the Leningrad and Karelian fronts, reflecting just how precarious the situation had become. Meanwhile, Army Group Center was under immense strain. The Soviets launched repeated counteroffensives east of Smolensk, hammering German positions. The Yelna salient, held by 4 battered German infantry divisions, became a crisis point. On September 6th, Hitler issued Directive 35, ordering the capture of Moscow. After months of debate, the German High Command was finally committing to a headlong assault on the Soviet capital. Reinforcements poured in. Huppner's 4th Panzer Group, Hoth's 3rd Panzer Group, and Guderian's southern forces were slated to converge for a massive offensive. The prize was clear. If Moscow and Kiev fell while Leningrad starved, Hitler could declare victory, even if the Red Army was not destroyed. On the Soviet side, the Yelna counteroffensive tested the limits of their resilience. On September 1st, the 16th, 19th, and 20th Armies attacked toward Dukhovshchyn, while the 24th and 43rd Armies struck directly at the salient. The defending German divisions, undersupplied and exhausted, fought desperately in trench skirmishes with dwindling artillery. By September 4th, von Bock ordered a withdrawal to avoid encirclement. On September 5th, Yelna was liberated, the first major Soviet success of the war. General Zhukov had forced back entrenched Germans, though at staggering cost, 32,000 Soviet casualties, 2 tank divisions destroyed. The Germans lost nearly 10,000 men but avoided encirclement. Though bloody and incomplete, the battle gave Soviet morale a badly needed boost. In the south, Guderian pressed toward Kiev but faced mounting difficulties. The Bryansk front harried its flanks, stalling Schweppenberg's Panzer Corps. With the Second Army lagging, Guderian's spearhead risked overextension. Stalin, sensing an opportunity, ordered General Eremenko to smash Guderian's exposed northern flank. Eremenko mustered cavalry, tank divisions, and brigades with numerical superiority, more T-34s and KV-1s than the Germans could field. Yet coordination faltered. German training, mobility, and tactical cohesion allowed smaller forces to repel larger Soviet thrusts. By early September, the 108th Tank Division was surrounded. Only a handful of tanks and men broke out. The 141st Tank Brigade was gutted, reduced from 94 to just 38 tanks. Soviet blocking detachments had to be used to prevent routes. Over the next days, Soviet assaults splintered into chaotic local attacks. Lemelson's German units held firm, inflicting punishing losses. By September 5th, it was clear Eremenko's effort had failed. Army Group North had successfully isolated Leningrad. Army Group Center held the Yelna line despite heavy blows. The Red Army had shown resilience, but at tremendous cost. For soldiers on both sides, conditions were brutal. The Wehrmacht's troops were exhausted. Their supply lines strained thin across vast distances. Soviet forces, though stubborn, bled manpower and machines in staggering numbers. Zhukov's counteroffensive at Yelna proved the Red Army could stand and strike back. Yet the Soviets paid with blood, tens of thousands dead, armored reserves decimated. For the Germans, the failure to annihilate Soviet armies in one stroke foreshadowed the grinding attrition to come. As September unfolded, Hitler's eyes remained fixed on Moscow. Yet reality complicated his vision. Leningrad was isolated but not taken. Kyiv still resisted, though threatened by encirclement. Moscow loomed, but the Red Army had shown it would fight tooth and nail. Stalin, ruthless in his directives, demanded counterattacks no matter the cost. Civilians bore equal suffering. Leningraders faced famine, with bread rations dwindling, while cities in Ukraine braced for invasion. The first week of September 1941 revealed the brutal truth of the Eastern Front. No side would collapse quickly. Every gain required staggering sacrifice. Every decision carried immense consequences. Hitler believed victory was in reach. Stalin believed survival was possible. Between them lay millions of lives. As autumn's chill spread across the vast front lines, both armies prepared for the next decisive blow. Moscow was now in Hitler's sights, and the Soviet capital would soon face its darkest hour.